relationships, spirituality, social conformity, and personal identity. Exploring teen topics from a biblical worldview. Teens Rock.
Well, welcome to the very first ever pilot episode of Teens Rock. I'm Joe Ardis Horn. I'm joined with a pretty incredible panel to help me discuss what is Teens Rock. Let's take a look at Allie Anderson.
Hi.
And Kat.
Hi, I'm very excited to be here.
And my best friend, so I'm told, Josh Peck.
Yeah, you better not forget it, too. We're going to have some problems.
Yeah, a minute ago I said, he's my good friend, and he upgraded himself to best friend.
That's right. If you want that promotion, you got to get out there and get it yourself.
You just got to go after it and take
own
it.
Yeah.
So why are we here, guys? What is Teens Rock? Since I'm talking to Josh, we'll start with you. Josh, what is Teens Rock? What are we doing here?
Well, I know for me, when I was a teenager, and actually it wasn't that long ago, I may look 40, but I'm a lot younger than that. When I was a teenager, I didn't have any kind of Christian, just good Christian television that was geared towards me. And a lot of it was, I'm not trying to be insulting towards these programs, but a lot of it was old guys talking about the Bible and sometimes maybe prophecy. But there wasn't anything that I could really get interested in. So that's why I was so excited that you gave me this invite to take part in the panel today, because I'm hoping that we can provide that in this show, something for teens that's entertaining but also informative and, something they can relate to.
Entertaining and informative. That really is the goal with Teens Rock. And each one of us brings kind of a different list of life experience. I have a background in youth ministries going back about a decade ago, actually, I think it was. Allie, you were there, so you remember this. Allie Anderson, for those that don't know, is my sister. She's also a part of my rock band, Joe Horn and Broken for Good. She plays the guitar. Now, speaking of life experience and skill sets, when was the last time you saw a guitar? Now, if you're a young person out there today, you might not even know. What is he saying, a guitar? Allie, what is a guitar?
Well, it's a keyboard. It plays like a piano, but it hangs like a guitar. If you just go on Google and look up 1980s rock, you'll see lots of them. If you go any later than the 80s, you won't see any of them probably. But it's a lot of fun to play. I really enjoy it. So.
Yeah, we did a photo shoot recently where I've got some pictures. I'll just make sure I post a picture of this on the video so that people can see what a guitar is in case they don't go back that far, which kind of makes me feel a little old. But I'm still hip, I think. Hey,
well, the fact that you just said hip proves
that I am not. What is it now, Kat? What is it? Are young people hip? Are they cool? What's the deal?
Well, there's a number of things. There's like swag.
Oh, see, now that's a word. Okay, swag. I hear it. It's cool, I guess. Is that the new cool?
You got to start using it.
Yeah, pretty much.
So would this be the right context? I'm swag.
Yes. Perfect.
And there you have it. In 2 minutes, the host of Teens Rock Illustrates, he's out of touch.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Okay, so playing a guitar is pretty swag. Kat, why don't you tell us a little bit about why you're here?
I'm here pretty much to kind of, like just now where I had to explain the new term, just to kind of almost be the voice of what teens are going through nowadays and kind of just put out there the kinds of struggles we go through and the kinds of things we experience. That way you get a firsthand experience, I guess.
Firsthand point of view through the eyes of someone young enough to still be in high school?
Yes.
So are you allowed to say what grade you're in?
I'm in 9th grade.
You're in 9th grade. Okay, and in the 9th grade, if you're cool, you're swag. Right?
Well,
you're going to have to help me work that into when I use it so that it works.
Or maybe don't.
Right, maybe just stop talking.
well, if we're going for comedy, then you're using it perfectly.
Oh, okay.
Hey, there you go.
All right. Well, you're going to have to use it then so that I can learn from you how it works. But getting back to the purpose here. So Teens Rock is a program. We're going to be dealing with what? We're going to be looking at what teens are dealing with, both in terms of peer pressure, the world that they're looking at, the world, all of the concerns that young people have, some of the things that like Josh mentioned when he was a kid, not having access to the kinds of programming or like he didn't want to go to church and listen to a pastor. This program hopefully will fulfill that need for a lot of young people. It'll give them something that they can look at, something they can tune into every week, where we're dealing with issues. Your high school crush, your broken heart, your temptations.
Yeah.
Some of the peer pressure at school to get into drugs. I mean, when I was in high school, which was, I don't know, maybe a decade and a half ago. I'm not that old. But the peer pressure to do drugs was stuff like pot. Mm-hmm. You saw a lot of infomercials, teachers talking about pot being a gateway drug, things like that. They are so much further than that now.
Yeah.
Especially like next to where we live. And I'm told by law enforcement friends that even out here in the Bible Belt, that drugs like crystal meth, it's everywhere. How do these kids eat that? I mean, that's what I want to know. How do these kids even get access to this stuff? But it's happening, and it's not just in the Bible Belt, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
So the pressure is, the things, Josh, that you and I would have dealt with now have actually in some ways gotten much worse. On the other hand, I think like social acceptance. When I was a kid, if you had the wrong kinds of shoes, that would have been a big deal. So they would mock the living daylights out of you for not having the right shoes. Where now you do, in my opinion, see a generation of people that are a little more forgiving, and they, anything that you wear can be swag.
Well,
if done in the right context, right?
well, kind of. I mean, it depends. It depends on like the groups you hang out with. Like, if you're in a school where there's a lot of really nice people, you're not going to deal with it too much. But if like the popular kids don't like you and they spread rumors around about you, you're just done.
That's it?
That's it, yeah.
Well, and there's something else that I'd like to add, and that is that not only are teens dealing with all of these pressures and things like that, they're also at an age where they have so much pressure on them to know somehow what they're going to do with the rest of their life. They're deciding right now what they want to do after high school. They're making relationship decisions that can impact them forever. There's all that pressure as well. It's kind of a powder keg, really. There's just so much going on in this one specific age, and it's a lot for one individual to deal with, and especially when instead of having a lot of support around you from your peers, they're all going through the same thing. So you have the support that they're also dealing with it, but you don't have that foundation of going to a friend and saying, like you or I could maybe, what did you do when you were going through this thing? Because they're going through it too. They're like, I don't know. So then it's kind of the blind leading the blind when they lead each other sometimes. So it's a really hard age.
Yeah, teens are often looking for a leader. I had the blessing and the privilege about a decade ago to work at a Christian, it was actually a premier youth camp / retreat center. And I was one of the highest trained Red Cross LITs, which for those that don't know is a lifeguard instructor trainer. And so every year we had a lot of the teenagers would actually come to our camp, where then I would hold the lifeguard instructor trainer courses. So I would certify the young person to do CPR and to make underwater rescue and to use a rescue tube. And I was one of the only guys in the state of Oregon, I was one of two that still had the knowledge to do waterfront rescue, which is where you're actually at a lakefront. Joined arms with other rescuers looking for people under the surface of the water, things like that. But I had the chance to work with a lot of teenagers. And often they would approach me. They would start to see me as kind of a big brother figure. The way I carry myself has always been intentionally not to talk down to young people as though I know more about things than they do, or to try to be their parental unit, or to talk down to them like some kind of a judgmental figure in their life. A lot of young people feel like they get plenty of that at school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nervous relationships they have with some of their teachers, which, by the way, is not a job that I would take for granted. I respect the daylights out of our hardworking teachers. I'm just saying, there's that feeling that there's a separation between the swag kids. Did I use it? Is it good?
Sure.
Still working it out.
It's more like swag is something you have, like, oh, they've got swag, or something like that.
So it's more of an adjective that describes the way somebody carries themselves.
Probably taking it apart and dissecting it like that is probably
That's the best way to approach
the best way to identify
Yes.
with.
Yeah, since I'm not around a lot of youth culture now, I have to learn from those that I have, experience around. So.
Well, that's good. And actually, you made a really good point about how when you worked with teens before, you didn't talk down to them. Because if you think about it, even we as adults, we don't like being talked down to. Nobody likes that. It's not just a teen thing. It's just a person thing.
Right.
No one likes that. So that's why I love that we're doing a show like this where we actually get input from real teens for real teens.
Right.
Because again, I grew up in an environment that was completely void of that, and I think a lot of teens even today can relate to that. So, yeah, I get where you're coming from.
So if we can think of it this way, and this is kind of, this isn't a phrase that I've coined before the show that I thought I would use. I'm just thinking this through impromptu, but I'm thinking of teens rock as more of maybe something that can be thought of as a digital church. For youth, some place where it's very handy. They could be on their skateboard on their way to work or whatever it is they're doing, and be streaming this if they're not catching it on television live, Roku, wherever it is that they get their video. We're making it available free, but it's something that they can do even if they're not in a position where they can make it to church every week, or for parents that frankly are having a hard time finding something for their kids that they feel is a positive. Everything we're talking about on Teens Rock will be filtered through a biblical worldview. So I want parents to know as they're watching this that when I talk about all of these issues like, the temptations to get involved in drugs or the temptations to make bad relational decisions and things like that, it's not just my opinions. It will be filtered through a biblical worldview. Think of it like an online or televised digital youth group experience. But it will be much more than just the roundtable discussion that we're having now. Allie, you have a background, both like I do, in music, but I've never done much with theater and acting and things like this. Now, the people that work with me would tell you that I act like a total clown. And if that's acting, sign me up.
It's not acting because it's who you are.
Right, oh, that's true. Yeah, okay. So Allie has a background in theater, musicals and plays and things like this. You want to tell us a little bit about that and how Teens Rock might in the future start to incorporate some of that stuff?
Well, I've done some different plays and things. I've been involved backstage in just about every setting. I've also been involved on stage in just about every setting. I really enjoy it. It's something that I would have done more with if I had been in a place to pursue it more. But it just was one of those things that was never the top priority in my world. But we've talked about some fun things that we can bring into Teens Rock as this grows. Some skits and just some fun things, make some comedy,
right.
to make it entertaining and relatable to teens. And
Right.
We've got some really good ideas. Anybody who knows Donna Howell knows that she has a theater background as well, and we'll be collaborating on a lot of that together. So
Yes, and Donna Howell will be joining us shortly. She'll be
Yeah.
back for the next episode, I believe.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people don't know that they probably should is that SkyWatch right now is trying to raise the funds to build a new studio, a much, much larger studio where programs like Sci-Friday, Teens Rock, the normal weekly program has its own unique set. So instead of sharing a similar type set with like Into the Multiverse being very similar to Teens Rock, et cetera, that each one of these programs would have its own set so that we're not borrowing from one another in terms of the way the set feels. Give each one its own unique qualities and lighting and things like that. But in addition to that, one of the things that we're hoping to construct is an area with maybe furniture and its own unique lighting and so forth to create a small theater where we can do, what do they call living plays? What's it called? Living video?
Human video.
Human video.
Living
Have you guys seen these online where, and some of these go viral, but they're extremely powerful. There's one online right now where there's a young lady and she's in a white robe and all of these actors around her, and there's no spoken words. This is totally set to music, but all of these actors are playing the different roles. One guy has a red drape and he's pretending as though he's Satan, and he's luring her with drugs and alcohol and a life of promiscuity and this and that. And at first, the man in the white robe is able to bring her back, but finally she starts pushing him back, and she starts to embrace a lifestyle of self-destruction. And this thing takes about 7 minutes to unfold, but what you really draw out of it is at the very end, she's hit rock bottom, she's in absolute dire straits, and it is the Lord who comes back in and shields her and blocks her from all of these entities. These people are portraying what appear to be demons, and they're trying to take back over her life, and they're presenting alcohol, and they're presenting drugs, and they're presenting all of these distractions and temptations. But the Lord in his holding power is strong enough to redeem her and bring her back home. Mm-hmm. It like literally, I've seen it like 3 times now, has choked me up extremely. The very first time I watched it, I actually had to like make sure nobody was looking so I could like dry my eyes. But it really inspired me. And I thought, why can't we be doing that at SkyWatch? And what would the template for that look like? And what would the outlet for it be? Mm-hmm. And I think Teens Rock is very much the place where a lot of that theatrical type talent and calling. Some of you guys have a calling for the arts, music, things like that. This program could really present an outlet for that. But we need, in some ways, the larger studio and the place where we can actually film some of this stuff. Sketches and skits. Where we would actually write, maybe even memorize some lines and deliver comedy. This stuff is really a big deal right now. And a lot of youth groups, I would love to see youth groups broadcast some of our skits and programs as a part of their, weekly program at church.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's cool that this is getting more popular nowadays, because I remember when I was in high school, again, not even that long ago, I had an interest in trying drama club out just to see if I would like it, but I decided not to because I was afraid of what other people would think. And I'm sure those teens at home can probably relate to a little bit of that. But it was actually kind of funny too, because I was always a science nerd, and I was in chess club and all this stuff. And I think you had mentioned before that you play chess or something. Yeah. So you can probably relate to that. Yeah. Not the most popular choice in high school, but for me it was fun. But a lot of getting picked on and things discouraged me away from a lot of that. But now in my early 30s, I'm having a chance to pursue some of that. So my advice, if there are any teens at home dealing with that, don't let other people define what you're going to do or what you want to try, because I'm only now starting to get back into this stuff and actually make a career out of it and a ministry out of it. Like the acting stuff you were talking about, you had some ideas before we started filming the show, and I think they're great. I can't wait to try it out. But yeah, that's really cool.
Well, and some of the comedy stuff, we love to laugh. Mm-hmm. At SkyWatch, the halls, I know Derek Gilbert has mentioned this several times, the halls of SkyWatch tend to be filled with laughter. Mm-hmm. And that's just real. That's not a logo that we try to, or an attribute that we try to stamp onto the program, or something we throw out to make people that watch the program feel as though we actually have a camaraderie. It really is. Yeah. We have the most insane, zany lunches you could imagine in our cafeteria. So Teens Rock, a place where outlets like creative, dramatized materials, music, arts, things like that can be conveyed on screen for the benefit and the glory of Jesus Christ. The Lord has a plan for everyone. He's got a plan. If you're out there today and you're watching this program and you're not sure what that plan is, don't give up. Seek the Lord. He'll reveal it to you. Every one of you has a talent, and it might be very different from what the kids at school are telling you. When I was a teen, Josh, just like you, man. Now, this is hard for a lot of people to believe, because now I'm 6'3" and some change, over 200 pounds, and I've been doing martial arts for a long time, and I was bullied.
Me too.
Like big league bullied.
Yeah. Well, so was I.
And again, it was like, the chant Kmart fall apart. Now, today the teens may not remember that, but you do, right, Allie?
Man, I remember that.
Man, I
and
grew
we
up,
were lucky to go to Kmart.
My parents didn't have a lot of money. They pastored, and they made a lot of sacrifices to be in the ministry. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It certainly was not the decision to try to embellish themselves through a life of wealth. We didn't have a lot of the cool, Nike Air years. And I
Same here.
remember when I was like, man, this is a big deal. I think I was probably 10, and I begged and begged and begged. My parents wanted to know what I wanted for my birthday. And I was turning 10, I think, that year. And it's got to be a set of Nike Airs, man. All the cool kids, all the popular kids, they've got Nike Airs. I've got to have a pair. And they're like $60-something back in the, whatever it was, early 90s probably.
Yeah.
And, but my motivation to want these awesome shoes had nothing to do with their performance or the fact that I wanted them. It had to do with if I could get a pair of shoes just cool enough, then just maybe some of the cool kids that were spitting spitwads at me and pushing me into the lockers and grabbing they used to grab my duffel bag and they'd kick my books down this flight of stairs every day. Oh. And the fear of not wanting to like stand up for myself.
Yeah.
And my way of coping with it ultimately became a negative because I got to a point where I was so outraged at the notion that I'd be bullied. After a few years of that, I got to where then I went through this whole chapter where I was fighting all too often. So I got picked on less, but it was kind of an overcompensation, an overreaction to what had been a problem in my life. But so we're going to talk about a lot of that stuff, what it was like to grow up as teens, what it is like to be a teen, what it's like to deal with high school, the state of events, and again, all filtered through a biblical worldview. Anything anyone else would like to add?
Well, just that for the teens out there is hope if you're being bullied or anything like that. There is hope. You just got to get through it right now. But I know, at least for me, no one that I went to high school with would have ever expected that, I would grow up to have
do anything.
To do anything. Exactly. So, and again, I don't say that arrogantly or pridefully. It's just there is hope. It's just getting through a few years, and then once you're an adult, there's other challenges, but the social stuff isn't really that big of a deal anymore. So
I know your heart, Josh. I know you don't mean that boastfully. You and I both have shared privately that anything we bring to the table and we offer it to the Lord is, we feel as though it literally is the opportunity of a lifetime.
yeah,
It's nothing we earned.
that's right.
It's nothing we deserve. You know what I mean. We're just offering what we can to the Lord, and we're using the outlets that God has blessed us so much to have access to. And we are in a position where television is one of those. And so, man, if we can make a difference for the Lord, if we can recruit young people to follow Christ, man, that's what it's all about. That's my heart. I know everybody here, that's what your heart is. And so
I just think it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to relating to the teens and being able to do whatever we can to help and create a place where they can find answers to their questions that they might be wondering about with a biblical worldview.
And one more thing before we run out of time. Yesterday, Allie and Kat were telling me that they want to start talking to teenagers about fashion, how to dress in a way that is casual, trendy, but very conservative at the same time. Okay, now there's this idea being floated around a lot of the schools and a lot of the young people that in order to look presentable or attractive, that you have to be built at a certain weight or a certain type of look. And often the measuring stick is set by Hollywood. And Kat, I just think you look adorable. And by the way, Kat is my niece, so it's okay if I tell her she looks adorable. But you always have really good taste in clothing. You're always dressed appropriately. And you guys have really good ideas for like how to dress during the winter, how to dress during the fall. And we'll post some of these ideas on the programs, but all of it's very modest, very conservative, but it still pulls off this look that I think people will identify with.
There's definitely a way to dress like the fashions show and still meet your parents' requirements for wardrobe.
Meeting
It's
parents'
exciting.
requirements for wardrobe. There you go.
Yep.
Well, there you have it. Young people, if you want to know what tomorrow's future looks like, the future of the world, take a good look in the mirror because you are the face of tomorrow. Thanks for joining Teens Rock. Until next time, I'm Joe Ardis Horn. Take care.
Can you sing the blues with a heart full of joy? The answer is yes, because as you may know all too well, sometimes the joy that comes from accepting Jesus Christ only follows after you've been broken for good. SkyWatchTV is proud to present the new CD by Joe Horn and Broken for Good, Right Where You Stand, featuring the dynamite lead track, Johnny. When you order this CD from the SkyWatch TV store, you'll also receive the special Johnny Project DVD featuring a special one-on-one message of salvation and redemption from Pastor Bruce Beelan, who played the Johnny character in the Johnny video, as well as special commentary from writer-producer Joe Ardis Horn and special SkyWatch TV world premiere countdown programs that led up to the world premiere of the video of Johnny. You'll also receive the books Redeemed Unredeemable by Donna Howell of Broken for Good and John McTernan's When Jesus Sets You Free, You Are Free Indeed. 2 books that demonstrate that the love of God is never so far away that He can't find you right where you stand. You'll also get the acoustic instrumental album from Broken for Good's Stan Williams, featuring Celtic acoustic originals like Finger Dance, Celtic Walk, historical hymns like I Surrender All, and many more. Right Where You Stand by Joe Horn and Broken for Good is gutsy, full of passionate songs of faith and redemption like Talk to Jesus,
And talk to Jesus. And talk to
Begin Again,
To begin again,
Come All My Children,
come on, my children,
Right Light,
the right light
and many more.
is gonna set me free.
All of this together is a $75 value, but it's yours now for just $29.95 when you order the Joe Horn and Broken for Good CD Right Where You Stand from the SkyWatch TV store. Order now by calling the number on your screen or log on to skywatchtvstore.com. Finally, a book that helps you make sense of the hard-to-understand parts of the Bible. SkyWatch TV is proud to offer The Unseen Realm by ancient language and Bible scholar Dr. Michael S. Heiser. He takes you into the world of the men who wrote the Bible under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, and by understanding their worldview, you will better understand some of the weird parts of the Bible. Like, why was it so important to mention giants in the Old Testament? And why did Peter and Jude reference the angels who created them in the New Testament? The supernatural war between God and fallen angels is real. The Unseen Realm helps you understand the way the apostles and prophets saw that war. And when you order The Unseen Realm from SkyWatch TV, we will add these 2 books free: The Supernatural Worldview by Chris Putnam and G.H. Pember's classic Earth's Earliest Ages. Order The Unseen Realm now by calling the number on your screen or log on to skywatchtvstore.com. Here at SkyWatch TV, we discuss a lot of cutting-edge theological concepts. In fact, some think we've gone over the edge with some of the things we discuss. But the truth is, we build on the work of giants. One such is George Hawkins Pember. G.H. Pember was an English theologian in the 19th century who saw the return of the days of Noah in the rise of spiritualism, the theosophical movement, concepts that form the basis of the New Age movement, which is influencing evangelical churches in America today. He wrote a lot about prophecy, not common in that era. But again, a lot of the things that Pember saw coming, we're seeing the fruit of today in our 21st century world. Most of Pember's works are out of print, and those that have been reprinted are often heavily edited. It's not unusual, not uncommon, not unheard of for a first edition work by Pember to sell for as much as $1,500. Well, for the first time, Defender Publishing has collected the classic works of George Hawkins Pember under a single cover. The G.H. Pember collection, including his classic work Earth's Earliest Ages, available for the first time in 1 volume from Defender Publishing. It's $29.95 plus shipping and handling. This is an invaluable resource for your reference library. The G.H. Pember collection, $29.95 plus shipping and handling from the SkyWatch TV store, available online at skywatchtvstore.com.